investment besides money is time. So I respect everybody for taking the time out to hop on and get things going. But let's jump right into it. I'd like to start off on the higher time frames always. And I don't start off on the weekly time frame. Excuse me, on the monthly time frame because there's not much detail there. We'd be waiting forever if we stayed on the monthly. So I'd like to start off on the weekly time frame. And what I like to do is look for my highest points and lowest points, and then kind of follow that path, and allow the market to tell me which direction is going. So I'll just start off quickly. I won't make this too complicated. So obviously I can see this here is clearly making its way up. All right, just in the same way, if we were here, we were clearly going down. Okay. Now, the minute I find out which way the market is trending, I look for the highest point in that trending market. So based off of this entire push here, I noticed that this is the highest point that the market was able to go to. All right. Now, why is that important? Because I need to know where's my swing low or my higher low or my lowest point that made this, right? So if I was to trace it back, I realize that it came from this higher low point. How do we know this is a higher low point? Because it's higher than this point here and this one and this one. Okay, so if we was to mark it off, the market stair stepping up, right? I'm just going to copy, paste, right? You can kind of see the market stair stepping its way up. If you're writing the chat box and I don't respond, it's because I haven't seen it yet. All right. I need, if anyone was in the Telegram chat where I was stressing the fact of 2 candles to be considered a break, this is a nice scenario to show you on the weekly time frame, right? You got this 1 candle that broke below here, right? And I do count wicks. Like I always tell everyone, the wicks do matter. If it's printed on the chart, they matter. Keep that in mind. All right. So it swung low, gave us 1 candle, and then closed right above, right above this zone here. So I knew we were still bullish overall. All right. I only knew that after this candle closes. Closed candles are important, but let's keep everything simple. We got this highest point. This highest point came from this low point. I just need to know that my weekly is bullish, and I keep that in mind. So this is what I used to do. I don't anymore, but it's always a good rule of thumb to write down what you see. And I keep things simple. My weekly's up. Okay. I want to go to my daily. I want to check the same exact thing. What trend are we on my daily? Right. And it becomes more, you end up seeing more detail, obviously, as you scroll down to the lower time frames. But again, clear uptrend here. Right. I'll just go to the details of it. Right. Our highest point in this push at one point was here. Right. Where did this come from? This high point, it came from this higher low point. Right. It broke below at this point here, but it failed to continue down lower. Right. So we were still bullish, came down and finally broke here. Now, again, I asked myself, where does this low point come from? I just trace it back, came from right here, right? So the minute it gave me 2 candles above here, if I was to zoom in, or if I was to do this, give me 1 second. I got 2 people sitting in the lobby. All right. I was to erase this, right? And I asked myself where this low point came from. Came from this point here. And the minute that level was taken out with 2 candles, I knew we were bullish. Okay. I'm just going to keep stressing the 2 candle sequence until you guys see what I see. All right. But I know we're bullish based off of this push here. Okay. Let me get rid of this because this already happened. Right. My highest point is here, this peak. And the reason why I say here and not here is because this push, right, came from here, came up. You see this move sideways. So I wouldn't count this as a high because it's a sideways movement. And then when we come up here and the peaks here, you can kind of see them kind of pull back here. So this is the highest point. And then after that, you got a final pullback. So this is considered the last high here, right? And I would not consider this the high. Obviously, we got a pullback here because there's no higher low point that this came from, right? We got this, what we consider a low. If I went to a lower time frame, well, let me not to get into too much detail, but the daily's bullish. All right, so let me keep that in mind. So I'll copy, paste this, change it to daily. And the reason I'm keeping this in mind is because I want my H4 to match one of these time frames. Okay. Now, I'm only taking a look at the direction and the structure of these two time frames to then determine what the H4 is doing.
Yeah, I'm not muted.
Oh my God, when I wanted to head out, my uncle called on FaceTime and I missed it, and I got.
Oh, no. Yo, Cash, past that. All right. Let me okay, I think everyone's muted now. Give me 1 second. Let's see how I do this. All right, I got it here. I muted everyone now. Perfect. Okay. Now back to this here, right? Our weekly's up, our daily's up. And this is kind of simple. This one is very simple. I'm just obviously waiting for H4 to be on an uptrend, which it is here, right? If you take a look at it, let me not jump the gun. I like to follow everything piece by piece. So if I'm not too sure if this is the highest point or this is the highest point based off of my H4, right? Let me remove that. I don't like, we all remember this already, right? Our weekly up and our daily up. I'm going to follow the market where I can see it clearly. What I mean by that is if I'm unsure up here, I'll start where I can see it. All right, so I see a higher low point here. That gave me this high. Another higher low gave me this high. Another high low that gave me this high. Right, so if I was to mark off this point here, right, I'll zoom in. Remember, you got to be very detailed to understand what's going on. Right, what do we have here? We have two candles that got above. So based off the H4 time frame, this was the high. Where did this high come from? Came from this higher low point. Was it broken at any point with two candles? Remember, never one, because you got one here. And if you would have chased this, you would have pulled back in, thinking you're wrong, and then it continued here. All right, but it did end up breaking here, giving us a downtrend, right? But what made this low point was this high. Do we get two candles above this high? We sure did, right here, right? Two candles. At that point, I'm just waiting for a pullback. Now, what made this high point here is this higher low point here, right? So at this point, this is all I'm paying attention to now, right? Making sure that this level right here does not break. Okay, so just for, let's put a little note here, right? Higher low cannot break. Okay, if it breaks, it is bearish, and I'm no longer looking for any trades. Okay, I'm going to put this big thing here. I'm going to keep it there. I don't do this anymore, but I kept it in my face because, as we know, once emotions start to trigger during our trading, we'll tend to forget the rules that we set in. We start trading emotionally. But I'm bullish overall on NAS. However, I'd like to see it pull back to this level here, possibly. Kind of swing below here. Maybe something like this. And then follow it back up. Obviously, my targets would be here, here, and then I'll look left for the rest of them if there is anything to the far left, which there is, right? I look above here, the highest point, right? There's a wick right there if you guys look to the left. I'm going to zoom in now that I know where the target is. All right, it's right here. We got this high point, we got this high. I'm going to just use this high, and then our following one is there, and then our last one is up here. All right, there's a lot of lines. I always go for the overall, which is this one here. I'm not using this because it's an overextended market. It wasn't a close candle. It pushed up and then came back down. So I'm using this here. Okay. I scroll back to my right here. This is my overall play on NAS. Again, it's not going to go in a straight line. It is going to wave up if it is going to continue up. Right, and the stop loss cannot be determined until I see a higher low point somewhere above this line here. So what I'll do is I'll put an alert here, crossing down. And the minute I get an alert here, I would like to see how the H4 candle closes at this level. Right now, I would like to see a candle like this. long wick. If it is going to stop above this level, it needs to be a long wick like this. All right, or a candle like this. If you're not familiar with the candlestick trading Bible, definitely take a look at it. It'll tell you all different types of candle patterns that mean bullish or bearish. All right, but this is my play here on Nas. Again, first target, second, third, and then obviously I'm looking for my overall. At that point, the way that I do this is I'll take 75 to 80% here. I'll break this even, and then I'm not gonna worry about the TP. I'll completely remove the TP, and I'll just trail the stop loss up until I get either stopped out or get pushed into this last target area here. Is everyone follow me so far?
Yeah, bro.
All right.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Somebody put 2 daily candles. Okay, now the 2 candle closure, I can go over just on the 2 candle closures. That could be on the daily, any time frame that you're on, daily, weekly, monthly, doesn't matter. 2 candles. Okay, perfect. I'm just going through the chat now to see if anyone asked me something while I was speaking. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, Pierce. Yeah, JV, if he has a bunch of questions, feel free to either type it in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask the question. Do we have access to recording? Yeah, I'll definitely. I have this recorded now. At the end of it, it'll take about a few hours, probably 2 to 5 hours to upload to YouTube, and then after that, you guys have access to it. It's definitely recorded. But let's go to UCAD. Oh, well, let me just start from the top. I'll go quickly. All right, I look for things that are very clear. All right, let's erase this. Get rid of that. Now let's adjust this. Now, again, I'm looking for overall structure or trend. If I look at this, it looks like we're in some type of channel, but we are working our way down, right? If you see that, we're working our way down here. All right, this is not a chart that I like per se. I can find the trade in here, but I don't like it, so I'm going to skip it. Okay, I like stuff that's clear like this. See this? Look at the difference. Let's zoom out real quick on the weekly. All right. We got some downtrend here, and then we got a major push here, and then a downtrend again, touching these levels again, and then pushing back higher. But if you look at this, this is clearly going down. I want you to take a look at that. Yes, it's going down, but it is making some major pushes up. All right, we got a major push here. You got another major push here. You got another major push here, right? And this is supposed to be going on a downtrend versus this clear downtrend. All right. I'm looking for obvious structure. Give me 1 second. Yeah, the link will be in the Telegram. All right. Let's take a look at this. Perfect. Perfect structure. Clear downtrend. Where's my lowest point on this downtrend? Is right here. I'm going to, again, the wick. Where did this lowest point come from? This swing right here, right? So we are bearish, right? All the way up into this point. So the market can do this, come right here, even sweep above with 1 candle and go right back down if it wanted to. Why? Because the weekly is bearish. Keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. And I can keep showing you this. Look right here, right? If we were here back in the day, this was my lowest point. Where did this lowest point come from? Up here, right? But I also want you to take a look at this level here, right? This lower high point. I want you to take a look at the 1 candle or 2 candles when it gets to this level. And this is how a lot of people get fooled, right? They'll chase this. On a lower time frame, you're going to see an indication. This is why I tell people, don't look. Let me see what H1 looks like if I can go that low. All right. Look what's happening on H1. Indication comes down, right? I'm looking for trades that I'm going to get in and they take off, not to be playing around like this. All right. Just take a look at the weekly. 1 candle above. Next candle bearish. All right. 1 candle above. Again, people chasing this. One candle back in. So this has not been broken. This is still bearish. And obviously we know what happens after. All right. One candle bullish, bearish. One candle bullish, bearish. This is still bearish. Same thing here. Broke bearish. This is still bullish until I get two, not bullish in structure, but bullish meaning it can still push up back up to these levels if I don't get two candles below this area. But look what happens when you get two candles back to back. All right, that's one. And that's another bearish one, right? Look at the move. Let's see what happens. Look at the difference. Do you see that difference? Two candles. And then how many pips did it drop? So it was 1, 2. We got a 135 pip move on a lower time frame. Obviously, we would have caught that. But I just wanted to stress the two candles. All right, and then obviously you can see it here. If I just put another line here, two candles, 1, 2. Just put a line here so you guys can see it visually. All right, two candles, 1, 2. And then a push, 170 pips. All right, so I'm going to hammer that until you guys get it. Two candles, two candles, two candles. But let's get back to the analyzing. I'm going to erase this. Again, I like to keep my charts clean. Lowest point, where did this come from? Right above here. I know we're bearish on the weekly. Daily, same thing. Looking for structure and overall trend. Obviously, we were on a downtrend here. We did get a push here. Right, now I'm going to look at the tiny structures in between. All right, now here's a little nugget most people don't know about the daily time frame. If you're unsure or cannot really read these candles, use a 23-hour. So it's going to eliminate 1 hour per day, and you can see the structure points way better. Take a look at this. Okay, you can see the lower high here. All right, look at this lower high. And when I go back to the daily, it looks like a straight move. But if you put the 23-hour, you can see the structure points. All right, this little secret sauce not many know about. All right, but let's bring this back to the daily. Okay, so I'm looking at this low point. Where does this low point? I know from looking at the 23-hour that this is my lower high point. Broke above that, came down, broke bearish again, broke bullish again, and we're kind of consolidating between this area here. Okay, so we're bullish on the daily. Why are we bullish on the daily? Because this lower low point, where did this come from? Came from here, right? So if I was to erase this, I'm just going to highlight the level that I'm looking at. All right. Broke above this lower high point, giving me a high, give me a higher low, came up, another low point. These are double bottom for those of you that are familiar with it. Double bottom, right? There's a lot of buyers at this level here at the 0.5740 area. All right, so it still has an opportunity to push higher. However, it's all determined on what's happening on the 8-4 time frame. So if I look at my weekly is bearish. If I look at my daily is bullish. I need my 8-4 to either match my daily or my weekly to determine which way I'm gonna take the trade. All right. Now it just so happens that this high point here on the H4 came from this higher low point here, and it's just been testing this area. Okay, so the H4 is bullish right now, but I'm not going to determine if it's going to stay bullish until Tuesday. That's another secret sauce that I haven't told people about. This secret sauce for like 9 years. I only trade Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Sundays and Mondays are a bunch of market manipulation, stop hunts, whatever you want to call them. Truthfully speaking, the big banks and hedge funds there's no such thing as stop hunting to those guys. They're just trading, and they just so happen to take your stops out. That's what's really happening. The only people that truly target your stop losses are the brokerages, the platforms that you're choosing to trade on, whether that's Sway Markets, NVFX, Hugo's Way broker. All of these brokers, you can see them here, FXCM. These are the people that will be hunting your stops. All right. It is not the banks that are doing that. They could care less about our little $1,000, $10,000 accounts. You trade any ICT. I can show. Myron. I'm gonna explain it in ICT, but ICT, all it really is market structure. But I'll say it in those terms if it makes it clearer for you. All right, but I'll show you that on something that's a little bit more clear than this one, but basically ICT, this would be, let me just mark this off, right? This would be the indication here, right? And then we have our correction. And you would take this back up to these highs here. Now, my only issue with ICT is that it doesn't consider structure points, meaning the lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? And the importance of that, even though it's, okay. If you did take this indication, correction, this would be the continuation. However, damn, I like to erase my stuff, but if you notice this structure point here, you're getting lower lows and lower highs, right? So it's bearish structure on the way down. Now, in order for me to buy this continuation back up, I need this wick right here to be taken out with 2 candles, right? So I would have never taken a buy from this level. That would be ICC. ICC would be something like this. Okay, target this high. Your stops either at this low, something like that, or a low, a low based on like H1 or M15. But let's just leave it here for now. This is what it would look like. But I personally wouldn't take it unless it took this level out. And I'd look for something like this. I'm going to use a marker, right? I look for something like this, right? And then take it up. My stop would be something like this, right? That would be my trade, as opposed to what you're looking at now, which is here and here. So I like ICC, but there's, if you just trade ICC the way it's I don't want to take any credit away from anybody when I say this. Without looking at the details of the market, you're gonna lose and you're not gonna understand why you're losing. That's what I'm basically trying to say. And why do I say that? Right? Because look, tapping this level, you would have been in the trade, you'd have been happy, you'd been blue here, possibly entering heavier because you're winning, which is normal. Right? Look what happens though, right? One candle comes in, one candle come down, one candle come down. Look at it, look at this. You can't make this shit up. One candle comes back down, one candle comes back down. Let's see what this looks like on each one, right? You got a little indication here, right? But if you're looking at the higher time frame, you got a little indication here, correction, you would have won this trade here on H1. But I'm just showing you the importance, right? Now you can see the structure here, boom, higher low, higher high. It gave you the 2 candles on H1, but that's the reason why I pay attention to H4 is because of this, right? Our actual structure point was still bearish. So I'm trying to avoid, when I get in a trade, I'm avoiding the noise, the BS. Now, if we were to get above here and do that, you would see that it's a lot less noisy. But, all right, look, 2 candles, 3 candles, really. You notice that? Look at that, 2 candles, just like I said, 2 candles right here. I would look on lower time frame. I can't do it now, but obviously this would be your first target right here. But look how you look. Notice when you would have bought it here, you're dealing with this BS. When you buy it when it gives you 2 candles above, yes, it does move sideways a little bit, but overall it pushes up. Okay, less noise versus following this indication coming down, and then you get all this BS without actually running. I want my trades to run, but I know I'm staying on this really long and I'm seeing the chat box go off. SMC is just trading with the bank's model. But SMC break retest, hands down. No one runs the market. The market, yep, true. Just going through everybody's Keys, what's up, my brother? My man said, teach me ICT. You talking about ICT, bro? I got the program for ICT, but I wouldn't even do that to you. Let me go back here. All right, so I'm gonna just take a look. I like All Chief, but it's too choppy here. It's basically ranging if you really look at it overall. This is why I keep the higher time frames in mind. I'm not trying to trade inside of here. Just not. I'd rather it clear out of here. And then I just take it either higher or lower, depending on what the market wants to do, right? Obviously, I would prefer it to go bearish because our weekly is bearish, right? And if it could continue this push down, possibly taking out this low here, I prefer that, right? Because I'm following the trend. The trend is your friend until it bends. The trend is your friend. I remember my mentor telling me that, and I was like, bro, you're corny. But I never forgot that line. Your trend is your friend until it bends. So sell until it shows you it's going bullish. Nowhere in here does it tell you to buy. Nowhere. So downtrend, right? Just in the same way. I mean, overall, really, this shit was bearish from all the way over here. Right, but that's crazy. Next pair, I don't like this pair. Let's take a look at it. All jappy. Adjust. Erase this. Take a look at the weekly again. Feel free to unmute yourselves. Make this more interactive. I don't like hearing myself speak for too long. But just take a look at the weekly here. It's my highest point on the weekly. Right? Where'd this high point come from? Boom, I keep asking myself. And the reason why I'm saying this out loud is because these are questions I ask myself. If this is my highest point, where did this come from? Came from this higher low point right here, right? If I just trace it back down, it's right here. The wick that created it was here. Do I get 2 candles below there? Yes, I do, right here. It went bearish for a few on the weekly, right? What made this lower low here? Was this area here. And then it came back up bullish again, came down here. So we're basically still bullish on all Jappy on the weekly. Okay, this is our previous high. We tested that high back in November, a few weeks ago. Tested it, couldn't break it. Right, this is when I was paying attention. At this point, if you check the Telegram, I was already screaming sells from over here. And the reason I was looking at sells is because I was looking at the index itself, right? And I had it drawn off from down here. Let me see that H4. Yep, it was right over here. I waited for it to break, retest this area. You can see my alarm right here. Retest it. And as soon as it took this level, I switched over to all it wasn't all Jappy, it was Chief Jappy and USD Jappy, but all the same thing. Right. And I knew that we would get a push below here at these levels. However, the weekly is still bullish. So as far as looking for shorts on the long term, not yet. But we did break bearish on the daily. Right. How do I know that? This high point right here, right? We got 2 candles above it. What made this a higher high here on the daily was this higher low point, right? But keep in mind, again, we only got 1 candle that broke below. And then we have this massive wick, meaning that there are buyers all over here, right? If you look here, when you see areas of like this, there's a lot of money on both sides. It's a lot of buyers and a lot of sellers, which is why you're getting reactions like this. But if the bears could push through this thing will free fall. It's just going to continue to drop, right? If you just look at the weekly, there's a bunch of empty space. If you just look at the empty space, right, this is what I mean by empty space. Look at all this before you get a low point, before this low, right? Then you get more empty space up until this low. So really, if the market can break through here, we can see the Jappies go all the way down here. If they can break this area. So this is something I would like to see. And I don't like looking at the charts on Sundays or Mondays because I speak for myself. When I see something pretty, I don't care what day it is, I'm going to take the trade. So I purposely don't look at the charts, but I'm doing it now because we're on Zoom and I won't take a trade because I got to look good for you guys here. So I can't say, I got to be perfect when I'm talking to you guys. Question, I like the trading on the 1 hour and I see the 2 candle rule on the 1 hour. It's overall bearish and on the H4 is bullish. I mean, and the H4 is bearish. Is that valid? What pair are you looking at, Junior? Given the 2 candle rule, we entered on the 2 candle or pending order. I don't do pending orders. I'll show you a markup that I'm waiting for. And I only put alarms there. I don't put pending orders because I like to see closed candles. And if I get wicked in and I don't like how the candle closed, I'm gonna end up closing the position. So I like to let the candle hit my area and then close. Take example gold. If you can find one, that would be fire. Okay. Oh, theoretically. Theoretically, you're asking if I find H1 bearish and H4 bearish. I'm going to show you. I mean, Alt Chief was a great example of not really paying attention to the lower time frames, right? Again, let me just go back to this. We're bearish as hell here on the weekly. And we're also bullish on Odd Chief here. But let me go to H4 so I can show you the importance and the difference between H1 and H4. All right. If you look at H4, and we have this low point here, which I had this drawn off on the Telegram. You could take a look at it, right? Gave me this low point. Where does low point come from? Came from all the way up here, right? So technically on H4, if it cannot break above this level, I'm not looking for buys, okay? I'm not looking for buys unless we break above this level, because this can just, like you saw before in the previous example, it can hit this top right there and then just free fall right back down, right? But if you're paying attention to only H1, right, you got the indication here. Let's erase all this. I don't like seeing a bunch of stuff. Got this indication, came down, never came below this level, and then pushed higher. So then this would be the new indication right here. Let me just erase it so it's visually easier for people to see it. All right, you got this indication here, right? Right, this would be the target level that you're looking at, right? And you would have won this trade here, right? Now I want you, and I'm saying that for a reason. You would have won this trade, okay? The reason why I'm saying that and stressing it is because, again, you would have won this trade, which means what are your tendencies for the next trade? You're most likely going to look for another buy, okay? And if we look at our H4, it is bearish. Again, it can come here. And if you're on H1, just paying attention to this, you can get fooled. It can go like this. Make a new indication, come down. And when you come follow this continuation, it's going to go whoop. Why? Because our higher time frames are still bearish. So I could care less what H1 is doing. If you've talked to any hedge fund manager, any banker, anybody that makes real money, they're on the higher time frames. They're not playing on H1. They're not playing on M15. No disrespect or taking credit from anyone else. I'm just telling you from the people I've learned from that move the market. Okay, these people move the market. They're not looking to trade on lower time frames. All right, and the ones that are trading on lower time frames are basically engineers and people that have algorithms. Right, so you're trading against a robot. If you think you can beat a robot, good luck. All right, have a conversation with ChatGPT. You'll change your mind about that. Okay, give me one sec. But let's fast forward. Okay, look what's happening here. Look what's happening. Why? Why is there more bearish momentum? It's because H4 is still bearish. I think we have a question here. Gold on the 1 hour bearish, daily bullish. All right, let me take a look at it. Bulls. Gold, 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 gold. All right, look, this is another trade. I had it set up, but guess what? I didn't take it. I don't take every trade, even though this was ended up winning, and that was I don't even know what that was, a 1 to 5, 1 to 6. Great, I don't care because it's against my rules. Let me erase this. Right, let me just show you. Okay, take a look at this. Weekly, hella bullish. All right, there's our highest point right here. Take a look at this. Our highest point on gold is here. Where did this highest point come from? Right here. Look what happens. I'm gonna stress it again. One candle, push above. One candle, bullish. Doesn't count. Bearish, then bullish, and then takes off, back bullish. Think that's a coincidence? Think not. All right, this is where they fool everybody to chase. They think they're gonna chase this big sell down here, and never happens. All right. This is the level that mattered here on the higher time frames on the weekly. So weekly bullish, daily was still bullish at this time. And then H4 was also still bullish, right? But let's take a look at it. So all our time frames were bullish, right? And I'm gonna keep this line here because I know this is off the weekly. But in real life, I would do this, erase this. All right, this is our peak right here. or our indication, right? You'd be waiting for a correction and then continuation, right? But let's take a look at structure. Okay. What do we have there? Right? If I was to draw a line, again, I'm gonna stress it again. Right? I'm gonna just put a box so you guys can understand that I'm not only looking at the wick, looking at this whole area, but I do want the candle to, if it does break below these wicks, give me 2 back to back. All right, but let's see what happens, right? We got our 2 here. So I know we're bearish on H4, but all my other time frames are bullish. Right? So for that matter, I'm not taking the trade. I don't care to be right once. I'm looking to be right the entire time. I'm looking to catch this over and over again. I would buy this. Anyone that see me trade live knows I do this live. I would buy this higher low. I'd buy this higher low. I'd buy this higher low with no hesitation. Why? Because everything's going up. Now, when I sell this, if I decided to sell it, how I showed you before, I would be hesitant. Why? Because all my other time frames are bearish. I mean, bullish, excuse me. So I'd be going against the overall higher time frames. So when I take the trade, I'm not as confident. All right. But here, I don't think twice. I don't think twice to buy these. Right? Even this last one here, I didn't buy this one in real life. I bought these. Right? I bought all these 1, 2, 3. Why did I buy this one? Again, look at it. Let me zoom in again. I'm gonna stress this shit so you guys go to sleep thinking about it. 2 candles above here, pulled back or indication, correction, continuation, and rinse and repeat all over again. Indication, correction, continuation, all over and over again. But it's bullish, so I held this buy and I let it run all the way up to this point right here. When this nasty wick happened, I closed it. I wish I was up when it was all the way over here, but I closed it somewhere around here. But you'll make more money following the trend. It's the reason why I'm showing you guys this. So I don't care that it does this, because at any moment, let me take a look at the daily before I say something stupid. All right, it's still bullish on the daily. It's still bullish on the weekly, right? At any moment, the market could do this, right? Right now, this is my lower high point that I'm focused on. Why? Because it led to this push here. So at any moment, it could do this. Boop, boop. Maybe consolidate and then rock it right back up again. So I'm not looking at any sells. Yes, this is a new indication right here. Right? And I know most people have it set up like this. Right? This would be your first target, second, third, whatever the case. And you might be right. But do not be surprised if this happens. Okay? I don't think it is based on what's happening in the economy, but this has a high probability of happening because of the daily and the weekly. All right, let's go back. All right, that's gold. So on gold, what I would like to see happen is erasing all this. Okay. What made this highest point here? It was right here. So until this level doesn't get broken, let me take a better look. Again, if I'm not too sure, I'll go to my 23 hour and I'll look. All right, so our high low point's really here. Right? Okay. So unless this doesn't get broken on the daily, I'm not taking any shorts on gold. Okay, I would rather wait to switch on H4 bullish and then take it back up and follow the overall trend on the daily and the weekly. What else we got? Who else? Anybody got specific questions? Because I could chart all day, but this is charting's kind of boring for me. So if you had like any questions, my main thing is psychology. I know the importance of psychology, and I put it in the Telegram a few days ago that most people, if I ask you this question, what matters more in trading? The fact that you can read the chart or that you have the right mindset? And most people logically would say mindset. If you have the right mindset, you'll win. And that is the true answer. But the truth is most of us spend most of our time on the charts. Think about that. You're spending 80 to 90% of your time on the charts. But when someone asks you the question, you say it's 90% mental. Like, think about that. That's like completely backwards. All right, but let me see if I have anybody writing here. Why do you move that line to the new higher low? I've seen a lot of higher high and higher lows. Why that specific one? I'm reading this now. That was that was right now that you wrote that. Which higher higher high are you speaking about? You talking about this one here? You can unmute yourself, I believe. Let me see if I can. You should be able to unmute.
Yeah. Well, all right. So look, that's different to me. I've never seen people do that. Hold on. So you were on like I think it was the daily,
Okay.
the daily, and you had that higher low, and then you moved it up like a couple points. I was like, what? That confused me, bro. I didn't know why you did that.
Okay, so naturally, when I'm looking at this, and I'm just being honest, naturally, when I see this higher high got created, I'll naturally go to this higher low point here, right? But if I'm not too sure, like when I look at this, I'm like, yeah, damn, is this a higher low? Because we do got a little pullback. I mean, this one's no pullback here, so I'm not counting it. If I'm not too sure, I go to the 23 hour. What that does is just eliminates 1 hour from each day, and you can see the flows of the market, right? So I'll zoom in here. You can see the flow making higher highs and higher lows, right? Got this push here, right? So that was the reason why I moved this up to here. This is our last low point that gave us this push. If that makes sense. And you're muted again, so you could just write yes or no if that made sense. All right. Let me see. Any pairs, any questions? If not,
I got a quick question.
go for it.
I see sometimes whenever you marking up your swing structure, sometimes you use the top of just the body of the candle, and sometimes you use the wick. Sometimes that can change the two candle. So there might be a time where you put it on the body and it'll give you two candles, but if you put it on the wick, it's only going to give you one. What gives you the distinction to use it on the wick or the candle body when you're marking out your swing highs and lows?
That's a great question. Something like I would say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, I'm using a wick to determine its higher lows. I don't necessarily like this one here. I like candles like this. Usually if the market was moving up, I prefer a bullish candle to wick out, something like this. As opposed to here, you see it was on an uptrend, but it was a bearish candle that ended up closing. I don't necessarily like these, like this. All right, because this could be a liquidity grab to make the push lower. I won't get into all that, but ideally I'm looking for, let me find a clearer chart. Let me see. Okay, yeah, something like this. All right. If I have this higher high point here, let me just get the next candle, right? I would mark it off like this. Use the bullish candle. And then I'm not going to go to the close of this bullish candle because that bearish one's there. I'll do something like this. All right. And this would be my high point. Right. Now, if I look left, let's say I drew it here, right? And I'm looking at the current market. Right. I am going to use this bearish candle, but I'm using the close of this bullish candle here and I'll drag it across. All right. Oh. And I would need two bullish candles above this point here. Right. This wick happened because this was here, this previous high point. Right. And we got one candle here. There goes one. And I don't consider that the second one. Right. This is a good example. Right. Look at that. One bullish candle and then comes right back in. It's not coincidence. Let's see if we get two above there and what happens after, if that ever happens. Okay, look at that. 1, 2. And then let's see what happens after. This is what currently happened, right? We got our two candles and then we got indication, a correction, and then continued with no hesitation here. This is the reason why I like two candles. If you would have chased this one here or this one on a lower time frame, you'd have caught and then lost and not know why. So I always use two candles. I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly or if that was visually made it easier for you to see, but
It did for the most part. It just seems like it possibly be more ideal to use like kind of like a zone like you're doing there, except for just a regular line to
yeah,
cover that.
me personally, when I first started, I'd use the whole zone here because the importance really is just the wick high, but this makes this visually, I guess, aesthetic to the eye when you see candle breaks as opposed to seeing something like this, right? People tend to ignore the two candle rule when they see it like this. I don't know why that is, but from my years of teaching a bunch of students, they need to put the zone for them to respect the two candle rule. So that may be something, if you guys decide to use the two candle rule, something you should apply to your trading.
Appreciate it.
No problem. Let's take a look at NZD Jappy. Since we're on it, go to the weekly. See the chat real quick. I have a question. Go ahead. Can you look at GU and EJ? I got you. Israel, go ahead. Ask me a question, bro.
Hey, brother. So I was checking. So you mark your support and your resist normally in the weekly, daily, and you might execute in the 4 hours normally, right?
Yeah, so I look at the weekly and the daily for structure, meaning my higher highs and my higher lows, or my lower lows and lower highs. That's all I'm looking for in the weekly and the daily. But I'm only doing that to find the overall direction of it, right? So I'll do it step by step with you here. I'm clearly on an uptrend here in the weekly, right? Where's my high point on my weekly? Was up to this peak here, right? But again, I'm not sure who was speaking earlier, but I'll zone it off, right? Okay. You could do this, you could use this, you could use the close of that bearish candle, whatever looks good to you. All right. What made this highest point? Is this low right here or higher low point? Right. And when I'm teaching, this is how I teach it. Have everybody zone it off like this. Okay. So we are bullish on the weekly. Now, if I was just trading off the weekly, this is a trade you could take if you were just trading it off the weekly. However, you would have to place your stop outside of here because anything from here up is bullish. Right. This is what a weekly trade would look like. I don't trade on the weekly, but this is what it would look like. Right. But since I'm not trading off the weekly, I'm just keeping this in mind. You could leave it marked off if you'd like. And what I tell my students is to change the colors of the zones. All right. So my weekly, let's say, is green here. And I know we're bullish. I go to my daily and I do the same thing. Where's my highest point? Where's my lowest point? I'm ignoring the weekly one because each time frame has its own structure point, right? So if I'm looking at these 2 points here, I'm not going to use this as the higher high. The reason I'm not using this area is because I'm paying attention to this higher low. It gave me the push, my 2 candles that I needed above this area. 1, 2. And then what created it was this higher low point, right? So if I was just zone off the daily, mark this off, right? And I'm going to change the color of that so that I know that this is from the daily. Okay. So my green is weekly and my blue is for my daily is bullish. All right. So my weekly is bullish, my daily is bullish. Why do I say my daily is still bullish? Because I only got 1 candle below here. Right. We got this one and wicked out. We got another one that did close below. Got a wick here, but this candle right here, if it turns bullish and closes back above here, it could push right back up again. How do I know if that's going to happen? I scale down even lower, right? What's the probability that can happen? Right now, it's kind of low. Why? Because my H4 is bearish. How do I know that? Right? This is my higher low point. Made this higher high. All right, let me just zoom in. I like to see the details. This is a very wick high. Okay, now look at that. You got to look at the details. I put a line here. Do we got 2 candles above? We do. Right? 1, 2. What made this high point? This higher low. Did we get 2 candles below here? We sure did. Boop, 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 boop. Right? What made this low point here? This lower high. All right. So if I was going to take a buy, right, going back to the daily, if this does close above here, that doesn't mean I'm gonna take the trade because H4 is bearish. The only way I would take a buy is if it goes, obviously, it's not gonna go straight, but right, it'll look something like this. If I do take the buy, it'll be up here.
Okay.
This would be my trade. Why? Because in between here, at any point, it can make a lower high point and go like this, right back down. So I'm not taking a trade because H4 is the only thing that's bearish right now.
Mhm.
Now, if tomorrow or 2 days from now, again, aka Tuesdays, I only trade Tuesdays, right? So Sunday could be bullish, right? It could close bullish, and then we got Monday bearish, Tuesday bearish, and then we fall down this way. And if we do get 2 bearish candles below here, I'll look for more sells because at that point it would have cleared this level for 1, 2, and then 2 bearish candles about 4 days below this level, which means buyers couldn't push it above here and they're going to take it lower and target these lows. I mean, that's what I believe is going to happen, but I'll let the market tell me what's going to happen. So this would be my play, something like this, and I'll target these lows. I know I went off, Israel, but I hope that answers your question.
No, I did.
All right.
I'm sorry. The last question was on gold. So you said you were gonna look for sells on gold on 1932 if we pass that support. What about buys? Where you think will be like a good entry when it comes for buying on gold?
That's a great question. Now, again, just to make everything simpler for everybody to digest, when I say I need my H4 to match the daily or the weekly, to keep it simple, when I go on the H4 time frame, is my H4 is bearish, I need my daily or my weekly to be bearish. That's the only way I'm taking the trade. All right, so I look at this. This is bearish. How do I know it's bearish on H4? Right, marking it off. Boom, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. We got our lower low. This is the true lower low here, right? Because we got 2 bearish candles. Came up, lower high, and then gave us another lower low. Right? So we are bearish here. But if I was to go to my daily, are we bearish? Definitely not. Right? Because if I was to draw this the same way again, right, it can go like this, right back up. Right? So we're bearish. But if I look at my weekly, are we bearish? No, we're not. We're super bullish. So this is a trade I'm not taking. I'm not taking this. Unless I made this low point, this lower high. Right? So if this area is taken out, go right back up. Come here, 2 candles above here. Give me a higher low here. I'll take this up with no hesitation because it's matching my daily or my weekly. In this case, it would be both, which just means that if this does happen, buckle your seats. We're going to see gold try to take these highs out.
Wow.
All right. I mean, your home run would be the sell if you can catch it, right? Like kind of like GJ. Like, look at this trade. The 1 to 15 monster trade. Right? But everything was pointing down on this thing, right? And if you guys go back to the video that I was kind of stressing the 2 candle thing here, it was here, right? Our higher low point was here. I saw people in the chat. I'm trying to zoom in without deleting my markup, but our higher low was here. Higher low was here. Gave us this higher high. It broke with 1 bearish candle here on H1. Let me just show you, man. I'm about to boom. Right? This is where everybody's like, yo, gold sells. Hell yeah, hell yeah. And you could be right, right? Yeah, your indication. Let me just make big ass boxes because I don't want to erase my drawings, not yet. Because I want to continue to catch GJ. Right? Yeah, your indication, you're waiting for a correction, and then obviously attack these lows again. Indication, correction, continuation, right? But if I look on my H4, I got one bearish candle here, right? So, right, and I'm trying to avoid this, right? Yes, you would have won here. Right? You would have caught this nice move on H1, but at any moment it could have went right here and then right back up. And meanwhile, your mindset is still stuck on sells. Remember, I was just listening to a psychologist now where he gives you this example. Have you ever been sitting on a desk and a pen falls off your desk and you catch it before it hits the ground without thinking? How does that happen? Because there's two sides to your brain. There's your conscious mind, right? And your subconscious mind, or your reptile brain, right? Now, your reptile brain is what keeps us alive. Meaning, if you guys were standing in front of me and I took a baseball and I just threw it at you with all my might, without even seeing or anything, you'll duck instantly. Everyone would duck. And if you don't, something's wrong with you. You're probably drunk or high. But if I stood in front of you and threw a ball full force, you're gonna duck. Right? But if I say, hey, look, Junior or JV or anyone, Carly, look at this ball, and I toss it to you, you have time to process that I'm throwing a ball consciously and go, oh, catch the ball. Right? So there's two sides of your brain. That happens when you're trading. So when you win at trading, let's say you win once or twice back to back, you are no longer conscious. Why? Because you're winning. Now you're excited. Same thing in the other end. The minute you lose a trade and then you lose another trade, you're no longer conscious. You're using your reptile brain. Now everything's a reaction. Now you're trying to save your money. You're trying to revenge trade. But that's when greed kicks in. All right. You're no longer thinking, literally no longer thinking. Anyone that ever had, hopefully everyone's had a parent that's told them, hey, think twice before you say something. Why is that? Because you got to take a second to think, which brings back to your conscious thinking, not your reptile brain, right? So if I walked up to you and slapped you, your reptile brain, instantly you're going to react. But if I slapped you and I said, hold up, think about it, we pause, you go, you're less likely to react back to me, right? You got to do the same exact thing trading. And I'm only saying that because you got to keep that in mind. There's two sides of your brain. There's two sides of your brain, the reptile brain that's trying to keep you alive, and your conscious brain. Your job when trading is to stay as conscious and as present as possible. And I'll give you an example of conscious. Again, I'm gonna keep stressing this fact because the difference that separates the weak from the strong, the profitable from the unprofitable, are the people that can stay conscious or present while they're trading. And I'll give you an example. Have you ever driven home and it's a 15-minute drive and you get home and you're like, holy shit, how did I get home? You don't even remember where you turned. You just got home. You just remember leaving and getting home. Right? But if I told you to take that same trip from where, let's say it was at work, from work back to your house, and I told you to drive at 200 miles an hour, I guarantee you're going to be wide awake and alert. You're going to be fully conscious of what's happening. You're gonna see lights that you never seen before. You're gonna see cameras. You're gonna see cops that hide everywhere. Why? Because of the speed. You're no longer unconscious. Right? This happens all the time in trading. The quickest way to fix it is to breathe. It sounds stupid, but breathe. Take a second. All right, but let me get back to the charts. Okay, this is the difference between waiting for one candle right here, your indication on H1, right? And then catching this. And look what happens, right? We got our two here. Look at the difference in movement. Two candles back to back. Gave us our correction. And look at the movement. Look at the movement. Look at the candle aggression. Look at these big candles, right? Look at this. Got one candle, mostly bullish movements. You got 1, 2, 3. This one candle, if you just wait, if you can just wait, right? This one candle, this is from top of the wick. Let me just do the whole candle, right? 98 pip move. I also take this. Look at this. You waited and you almost caught this entire move that you waited 1, 2, 3, let's say 12 hours. Verse 4. because you waited. Right? And this thing just completely melted afterwards. Completely melted. Right? But look, even here, look at these lows. Same thing, bro. Look at these lows. When does it take off? After 2 candles. You got 1 wicks, boom, another 1 wicks, 1, 2, take off. You can't make this up. Can't make this up. All right, but that's GJ. USD CAD. USD CAD. I'm still waiting for USD CAD. All right. Yes, adjust this. Right. You know what? I'm gonna ask you guys these questions. Why do I have this green zone marked off here?
Because that's the one responsible for the lowest low.
That's it.
Yeah, because that low came from that high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what happens when you're on H1? Right. You guys gotta. I want you to do your best to, when you're trading, do your best to look for the opposite side of that trade. Right. Why? Because if you drew everybody know that what is that? You draw 2 circles. I forgot what that's called. You draw 2 circles in the middle. You write down what's common on the left side. You write what's uncommon on the right side. The opposite. If you do the same exact thing for your trades, let's say you're looking for sells, and all your reasons on the left hand side, you're writing all the reasons why it's a sell. On the right side, you're writing all your reasons why it's a buy. And in the middle, the reasons why they're similar. Okay. If you look at UCAD now, right, on H1, we're clearly on an uptrend, right? So if you picture the circle, right? If I was to look for buys on H1, we got this lower high point, gave us this lower low, came up, 1 candle, higher low, 2 candles, and then finally takes off. So I'm just drawing this to follow it. And I'm skipping over some higher lows because I'm only looking at the major areas, right? If I was just to draw this here, we're clearly still bullish. This is my highest point. Right, where did this come from? Right down here, this whole area. Look how the market reacts at these areas. Whoop, wicks it. Right, so we're bullish on H1. And what's happening to you here? You're winning. Indication, correction, continuation. Another indication, correction. And you're getting excited. And you know what you're doing? You're increasing your lot size. Increase, 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 increase. Right, and then what's most likely going to happen? Comes up here, dips above here, and then completely melts. Why do I think it's going to completely melt? Just erase everything. Weekly is clearly bullish. Clearly, right? Look at it. Look at this thing. Massive uptrend. Right? But if we just look at this piece here, uptrend up until this point. Where did this high point come from? Right here. So we're still bullish on the weekly. When I come to my daily, I do the same exact thing. Again, clearly we're sideways here. But I'm just going to look at the smaller details. Right? My highest point was right here. What created this? Right here. Right? Again, if you can't see it, oh, ETH, baby. Oh, man, we might catch a trade live. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Sorry. Money calling. Oh, baby, let's see what happens.
Let's go.
All right. Look, this is what you want to trade. Clarity. Clear ass indication. Or new higher high. Where did this higher high come from? All the way down here. Again, I'm only have this here because I don't know where it may wick out at. I also don't know if it's going to take out this low. If it takes out this low, I'm no longer looking for buys. But why am I looking for buys on ETH? Again, we're bearish. Excuse me. We're bearish on the
Go
weekly.
ahead.
We got this low point. Where did this low point come from? All the way up here. Okay, so we're bearish on the weekly. Overall, higher time frame. Daily. Clearly bullish, right? Besides all this, you can just see it is rocketed. Complete. Oh my God.
Bitcoin as well.
Sheesh. All right. Well, on the daily, bullish, right? made this high point. One made this high point all the way down here, this higher low point. So on the daily, we're bullish, right? All this whole level. Right here, let me make it a little cleaner. Higher low to higher high. So we're bullish on the daily. Now, when we looked at H4, I don't care how this looks right now. I got to see how it closes in an hour and 45 minutes. I would like to see how it closes. Again, the real area I'm looking at is here. I need this area here to break with 2 bearish candles. All right, but I got a lot of time right now, so I'm not too worried about the trade. But I just wanted to see it. Okay. We'll see in an hour. This is nasty. But hey, look, we get our 2 bearish candles. Get ready for a nasty, nasty bearish drop. All right, boom. Breaks that level, gives us a lower high. And we can take this thing all the way down. Why? Because our weekly is bearish. And we can target this low right here. I don't think it's going to happen. I would most likely obviously look for this low. If anyone invest in ETH, you may be able to get some ETH at $1,500 again, possibly somewhere around here, 1,900, somewhere in the 1,900 to 2,100. But let's see how this closes. You might just see a wick out and then close above here and then just rock it, something like this, which this wouldn't be a bad buy at all if it wicks out here. All right, something like that. And then target higher. All right, something like that. Or even higher. These are all
Can
my
you check Bitcoin?
sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can see here on the daily, I had it marked off, but I never went back to look at it. Right, we had this massive indication. I was hoping it came down here. This looks like a weekly drawing, actually. Yeah. Right, I was looking for a weekly retest of this level. All right, but let me take a look at this. We might actually be in a bull market right now. I'm not even gonna lie. Why do I see that? We may be in a bull market. Let me see. Okay. Why am I zooming in so much? Okay. This is why I'm zooming in so much. So just this. My lower high point. I'm going to erase all this. Lower high point. Where'd it come from? This lowest point here. Right. Spiked all the way down. And then I zoomed in down here to see if I got my 2 bearish candles. Back to back. They need to be back to back, which I do. Right. 1, 2. So really, this is my lowest point. And then I'll just adjust it. Where did this come from? Came from this area. I just want you to pay attention to it, how it reacts to those areas that we draw off. All right, boom. We got 2 candles above it. Boom, boom. Broke it, retest this area, and then takes off. Coincidence? No. Weekly is bullish on Bitcoin. So this is the area right here, right? Or ICC for you guys. All right, you got the new indication right here. New indication. This could be the correction all the way down to 32. I doubt it. All right, but that'd be nice. It comes down here. That's off the weekly. Daily, clearly bullish. Again, highest point. Where did this high point come from? Came from these higher lows here. If you're not too sure, go to 23 hour and you can see them. You can even mark off this one. I like this one more because we got an actual pullback here. This is more of a sideways movement, right? Versus this pullback. Okay. So that's the higher low point for me. So we're bullish again for ICC people. This is the indication. Indication, correction. We'll push up further, but I'm gonna get rid of it again. I'm gonna get rid of all this because I like my charts clear. And then we have our H4. Again, our highest point right here. Where did this come from? Right here. Boom. We're in what you call the no trade zone, right? Or something like this. This is an indication here. This could be the correction. And this might be the buy of a lifetime right here. This might be your last opportunity to buy. And I mean investment wise. I don't mean, but if it closes above here, this would be a good buy. But again, I only trade Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And that includes crypto as well. All right. But really, I'm looking, everything's bullish from weekly, daily to H4. So Bitcoin, we could be in the bull market and we could be targeting these highs again, like up here. But for the risk, like, I mean, if you look at this big ass indication, right, you got to keep that in mind as well, right? If we go to H4, this looks like a great opportunity. But if you look at the weekly, we got a massive indication with a bunch of space in between here. I don't like that. I'd prefer it came down here and then go down to H4 and then take it back up again. But we don't know with crypto. So this may be, it may close here in the next hour and 40 minutes right here and then just rock it right back up. But I got a serious bullish bias on Bitcoin. Yeah, this looks great. But the risk to reward 1 to 16, I'd rather trade something like GJ, less I guess more predictable. But when I look at stuff like this, I would prefer to invest in the coin, right? And know that I have a 16x probability of it coming up here, right? Through an investment, because the only way I can lose that money, let's say I had $1,000 and I traded $1,000, you could lose $1,000 in a few pips. Because right, this thing gives you a lot of pips. All right, what is that? 1,500 pips, or depending on the contract size, that could be 15,000 pips, right? Depending on the contract size. But if you invest $1,000, the only way you lose $1,000 if it goes all the way down here to where Bitcoin started at negative, somewhere around here, right? Which the probabilities of that are very low. So I would prefer to invest in cryptos than in trade them. All right, let's see any chats. Different rules for crypto. Not necessarily the different rules. Trading wise, the same rules. Is just I do keep in mind the fundamentals of crypto, which do play a huge role. Like Bitcoin halving is coming up, I believe in like 3 months or so, which, like I said, this could be the last buy. This could be the last buying opportunity, but when I look at the weekly, I just don't like this space here. I'd like for it to come down and then take its way back up. 100K, I could see 100K Bitcoin this bull market for sure. Anything above that, I don't know. All right, we've been on here for quite some time. Let's see. Been on here for what, an hour and a half? Any questions? I'll give you guys another like 10 minutes. Questions, comments, observations. Going once. Going twice. What up, Grace? Didn't know you were in.
Are you still investing in XRP?
Yeah, I'm still holding XRP. I invested in XRP and I also took a trade on XRP, but my buy was so low in the market that it was worth. Give me 1 second, waiting a phone call. Hello? Yeah, this was my buy on ETH. I mean, not ETH, XRP. This was in October. Oh yeah, October, I believe. DeFi Ridge, for those of you that are on the Telegram, him and I caught this buy, but that was as soon as it broke these levels. But I'm still holding a small portion of it only because of the entry that I got, right? And again, my highest point on H4 right here. Where did this come from? Right here. I can either put it here or here, but I'm gonna do here. Boom. And again, no reason to get out yet. Yeah, whatever. This back. All right. 1 candle below, came back up. 1 candle below, came back up. All right, no reason to close. So I don't care what happens right now. I got a banging entry at like 55 cents. I took some money when it made this push here. I think it was here I got it, took some money. But yeah, okay. Now I'm thinking that if we are trading H1, is bullish, high time frame is bearish. I should wait for H1 to be bearish. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. remember the saying, the weekly and daily, the higher time frames control what happens on the lower time frames. But the lower time frames give you an idea of what could happen on the higher time frames. I'll say that again. The higher time frames control the lower time frames, but the lower time frames give you an idea of what could happen on the higher time frames. All right, so you may be seeing higher highs and higher lows on the lower time frames, but it's being controlled overall on the higher time frame. Now, if those H1s and H4s continue to build up higher highs and higher lows, it will then change the structure of the daily, which will then change the trend, which will then the total control would be in the higher time frame, which means bullish at that time. If that makes sense.
Okay, like you are saying that we can see the change of trend from smaller time frames, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any other pairs? I can do one or anybody that's saw us breaking this down as well. I know some people were looking for buys here. This is when I was stressing the 2 candle break here. We got one, and I told you guys you'd have a higher probability of selling it. Why? Because everything was pushing down. Right, and I know people were looking at H1. They saw this indication here, right? And then they were looking for that right here. Let me just draw it. All right, this is their indication, right? And they could have got fooled taking this, close above, and then would have got stopped out. Which hopefully you guys listened when I was telling you guys, but I don't like to tell people what to do while they're trading. All right, so I guess we'll wrap it up. I appreciate everybody. If anyone has any last requests or questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'm out of here. EA? Sure. EA, let's take a look at it real quick. That'll be my last pair, unless I have a question.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time, man. I just have an echo right now. That's why I'm not trying to speak.
No worries, no worries. Let's take a look at EA. Looks like I have it marked off already, but let's take a look at it. Okay. Weekly time frame. Let's take a look at it. Okay, bullish. All right, I'm gonna mark it off so you guys can see it visually. All right, boom. Boom. I won't talk too much. I'll just mark it. You guys should get the point of how I look at the market now. Bullish. Daily. All right, where's our highest point? If I'm not too sure, 23 hours. So I can look at the structure. All right, there's the highest point. Came from right here. Go back to my daily. All right, broke bearish. Made this low here. So following it, made this low. If I look at that, it actually gave me 2 candles below that. So then I'll then put it here. Where did this low come from? Came from this lower high point. Right here. Broke bullish again. Where did this higher high come from? Came from here. I'm just following the market. Broke bearish. Right. Where did this lower low come from? Up here. Right. Not this point because we didn't actually get a lower high, a true pullback. Got one bullish candle. So we're bearish here. Right. Did it give us 2 candles below here? It did. There's 2 here. All right. So really it's this area that I'm paying attention to. All right. So in case you missed it, this was the low point. You got 2 bearish candles here. So I am looking at this area. Here's my lowest point. So we're bearish here, bullish on the weekly, bullish on the vice versa. Bullish on the weekly, bearish on the daily. Go to H4, we are bearish. So I'll be looking for sells. I will be looking for sells on EA starting Tuesday. So the reason why it starts at Tuesday is because the manipulation and most of the BS has stopped already. All right, so the best bet would be wait for a new indication out of here, a correction, and then take it lower. That would be my play on EA.
You will be looking for sells because many of the time frames are giving bearish indication.
Correct. So when I look at what I'm looking to
Okay.
do is I'm looking at H4, right? My H4 is
Okay.
bearish, and I'm looking to match the direction or the trend of this time frame. So
Okay.
my H4 is bearish. When I go to my daily or my weekly, I just want to make sure one of those two are bearish. We already found out that
Okay.
the daily's
Okay.
bearish, but our weekly's bullish.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. I got the conclusion.
No worries. Is that all, guys and ladies?
Yes, sir.
All
Thank
right.
you so
Yes,
much.
sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you
I'll
so
see you
much.
in the Telegram, and I will
Thank you, sir.
on the YouTube.
Thank you.
No problem. Take care, y'all.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.